Welcome to
everybody.
Redacted. Do we have a sound check? Are we okay? Excuse us.
Yeah, we had no sound on the intro.
Yeah, we didn't hear it, but hopefully you can hear us. Welcome to your Thursday. This is a busy day on Redacted. We're so glad you're here. We already said our names, but there they are again. I'm Natalie, and this is Clayton.
Yeah, coming up on the show today, we're going to look at the fallout from Pam Bondi's testimony yesterday in front of Congress and multiple calls now for her resignation, or if she doesn't resign on her own, then impeachment proceedings to move forward. Why is it? But the real question is, why is the Department of Justice actively covering for pedophiles? Like, forget all the theatric yesterday with Pam Bondi doing her whole acting session and everything that she was reading off of cue cards and flashcards, but why are they covering for these pedophiles?
Why have they been for decades? Why are they continuing to? Right.
Yeah. Is there a hint in when she mentioned the Dow is over 50,000, 50,000? Maybe that's why, because it could tank the stock market if all these billionaires are in fact responsible and they all go down when the entire stock market collapses. Was that what she was hinting at? I don't know. We're going to talk about that.
We're also going to continue to talk about Pizzagate because that continues to unfold. If you learned the soup to nuts Pizzagate scandal yesterday on yesterday's episode, it was deep, it was dark, it was heavy. It was a lot. I hope you were able to digest it. Keep it in mind. We're going to continue to follow this story. Also, one question that has really been bothering me is why was Epstein so busy with elite research academics? What did he want with them specifically? Now, I have two theories about this, and I'd like to prove it to you. The first is that it was geopolitical influence, but the second is I think it was to normalize sexual perversion throughout polite society. And I'm going to make that case, and I hope you stick with me on it.
All right. So we got a lot to get to today on the show. Let us know where you're joining us from. Thank you for subscribing. We're heading towards 3 million subscribers here on YouTube and, of course, getting towards 1 million on Rumble. So thank you, all of you truth seekers out there. We don't have an agenda other than the truth. We're not going to all like the Epstein binder crowd that loves to cover for Trump and make all excuses for Pam Bondi. That's not us. If you're looking for that, there's plenty of other shows like that out there that you can watch. Actually, many of those binder people, by the way, haven't even touched the Epstein story at all. They've totally been quiet. Yeah. It's very interesting. They were so quick to hold up those binders.
Wouldn't you like to juxtapose what was written in those binders versus what we know now? That would be interesting. Maybe we can find somebody who actually looked through the binders and then can say, what do we have now? Because they had it then. It's clear that they had it then. So I'm very curious about that crowd. We legitimize nobody. We are just simply truth seekers.
All right, but we're going to get to all of that. But first, I've got a little box here because this has been a game changer for me. I want to tell you about our friends over at Healthy Cell because I started using this recently. You just pull out one of these packets, and depending on, it's a vitamin, it's a supplement, right? And what's different about Healthy Cell is that these gel supplements taste great, and each one replaces multiple pills. So you know how a lot of people will have those big pill supplement things, and they've got all their pills shoved in there. Well, you're mixing bottles and all of that. The best part about these is you just crack open one of these little gels, pour it in some cold water, mix it with some ice and cold water, and you get all of those multivitamins right in your water, and they taste great. And you can pick and choose which ones work for you. So what makes Healthy Cell different is the gel format. It's clinically proven to absorb 165% more than those tablets. So instead of those nutrients just passing right through your body is actually using them. Fewer pills, better absorption, and way more convenient. I've been using their bioactive multi and also the heart health one as well. And I'm telling you, you just feel better because you get more energy. You can actually feel that it's working in your body and you're not peeing it out. Honestly, the biggest difference is how many pills I've stopped having to take. Multiple, bottles of pills. You get to do all of it now just with this one gel pack. Vitamin D, zinc, magnesium, a bunch of other vitamins, all separate. No. Now you just get one gel pack, just mixed right with water. Take it straight from the pack. It tastes great. You don't have to drink it with water if you don't want to, or you can mix it with water, or you can put it in a smoothie. Whatever you want to do. Their joint health and mobility gel is fantastic. I was taking turmeric in pill form, and it wasn't very gentle on my stomach. I actually felt a little woozy after taking it. This gel pack has curcumin, which is the active ingredient in turmeric, along with glucosamine, chondroitin, omega-3s, and more. Everything you need for healthy joints. Most days after my workout, I mix this together in any of your protein shakes, and I love it. It tastes great. So try it right now. Try Healthy Cell for yourself. Go to healthycell.com. That's healthycell.com. Use the code redacted to get 20% off your first order. So our thanks to Healthy Cell. And keep them in the fridge, too, and it keeps them nice and cold. All right. All good? Mm-hmm. Okay. Something going on?
No.
All right. Just want to make sure.
No. I just wanted to tell you guys that if you use that overhead camera, you need to tell me because I sit cross-legged.
Okay. All
I need a heads up.
I wanted to make sure it wasn't something important.
I sit crisscross applesauce here.
Okay. Like what? We don't have an overhead camera.
Well, I noticed from that. Yeah, when you guys came in on
that camera,
I was like, oh, can you see that I'm not sitting like a lady? I am
We're
now.
not trying to go basic instinct here.
No, I don't sit inappropriately. I sit like a kindergartner. And so I was like, whoa, what's that? Okay.
I saw the feverish texting while I was reading that. I was worried that there was a problem.
There's no problem.
There's no problem.
No, I just want to make sure.
Just vanity. Okay.
I'm trying to look appropriate here.
Okay.
But I'm sitting like I'm on a kindergarten circle rug.
All right. Crisscross applesauce. You ready for story hour?
Yes, I am.
We have a little story hour to get to because there's really only one question today that we want to delve into that I want to talk about here at the top, which is why is the Trump administration defending and covering up for pedophiles? That's the question, right? That's really the question. And it's really the only and main question. And then there are sub questions underneath all of that, of course, like why are Epstein binder MAGA influencers like these people, these journalist types, also running cover for Pam Bondi and the Trump administration, totally ignoring the Epstein story now? Well,
I will point out that Liz Wheeler is in this picture, and she has been covering the Epstein files. So
yes.
At the very least, there are some.
There are some, but not all of them. And most of them are totally ignoring it. So again, why are MAGA journalist types also running cover for Pam Bondi and the Trump administration? Thomas Massie is the problem, of course, to all of them. Not the pedophiles, it's Thomas Massie who's the problem. Notice the person here in the middle of this photo is Chaya Ryachik. She runs that Libs of TikTok channel. It's very odd, though. A lot of people have noticed that why is Libs of TikTok totally ignoring the Epstein files? Just do a cursory scroll through the timeline here. A lot of people were pointing out this over the past few weeks that Libs of TikTok has totally ignored all of the files. They'll talk about the Voting Act, of course, what's going on with ICE, what happened in Canada with the mass shooting in Canada. Sure, ICE, plenty of ICE in there, on and on about ICE.
Wasn't the whole point of giving them those binders because they're influencers to go out and tell people what were in them? Like that was the whole point.
But also the whole point, the way that Libs of TikTok made its fame was pointing out liberal perverts who were mostly in educational institutions like kindergartners. And so perverts were kind of their thing, pointing out perverts in everyday society under the Biden years. And now these most egregious perverts, not interested. That's just so weird.
Zero mention of Epstein. If you scroll through Libs of TikTok, Tom Santos was eagle-eyed on this and pointed this out. He said, so how is Libs of TikTok responding to Trump and Musk and the Epstein files back on January 31st by staying completely quiet and pretending it's not happening? The General posted this. Maybe this is some insight into why there's no posting about it. Was there some sort of an edict? Libs of TikTok has allegedly been advised by their social media team to avoid posting about Epstein with concerns that it leads all the way back to Israel. So is their social media team just totally quiet about
concerns
it? Concerns like possibilities it might lead all the way back to Israel. Okay. So why are most of the Pam Bondi binder crowd staying silent on this? Scroll through their timelines and they're nearly devoid of any mention of Epstein. A few of them, all over it. Great. Most of them quiet about it. Very strange. Meanwhile, after the Pam Bondi hearing yesterday, watch one of those low testosterone so-called journalists who works for Laura Loomer, also not talking about the Epstein files, by the way, trying to attack Massie. It backfired big time. Your voice is cracking. Are you on puberty blockers? Watch.
No, I didn't see him on that.
Congressman Massie, in the last week, you would have called on President Trump to apologize to Barack Obama, and you're standing here with Congressman Khanna at a press conference implying that the president is a pedophile protector. Are you hating on Trump to try out for CNN?
I think crack out. Blockers are wearing off.
Oh, really? Yeah. Congressman, you need to answer my question. Your lies, your insults are getting old. Answer my question.
Are you hating on Trump? That's your question? Like, you got a chance to talk to Congressman Massey, and you're like, are you hating on Trump? Are you hating on Donald Trump?
Why should this matter?
What the hell? Who gives a rat's ass?
For not
for the Epstein files?
Yeah, for not arresting pedophiles.
Like, you get one chance to ask a question. Are you hating on Trump, my favorite man? What the fuck is wrong with these people? Seriously.
Shouldn't we hate the people who don't want to stop this? We should hate everybody.
No,
who
go
wants
after Massey.
this to continue.
Massey and Ro Khanna are the problems. Those are the problems. So why are they trying to protect pedophiles? And then why is this like MAGA influencer media crowd also actively trying to protect pedophiles? We should all be asking that question. Does it have anything to do with the fact that Israel is a safe haven for pedophiles? Maybe. I don't know. Israel becoming a refuge for pedophiles, warns advocate for child sex abuse victims. It's well documented. As CBS News reported, how Jewish American pedophiles hide from justice in Israel. Notice the timeline on that, February 19th, 2020. CBS News did an entire deep dive investigation about how pedophiles can find great refuge in Israel and really is a haven for pedophiles. Watch.
A CBS News investigation has uncovered a loophole that allows accused and convicted American pedophiles to escape justice by moving to Israel. So Ian Lee has been following this for more than a year, and he traveled to Israel for this investigation. He worked with a group that tracks people accused of sex crimes, which estimates dozens of Americans have used this loophole.
Yeah, so maybe why they're going after Massey so hard, of course, is that he won't take your AIPAC money and he won't protect pedophiles like you want him to. By the way, that CBS report, just to point out, on Israel was before Barry Weiss took over, so don't expect to see any more journalism in that regard. Speaking of Massey, though, he attempted to hold AG Pam Bondi's feet to the fire yesterday, asking her why the DOJ specifically redacted the names of people like Les Wexner, a known Epstein conspirator. But she didn't want to answer that. She wanted to do more theatrics. Watch.
Respond, and then the gentleman can move to the next question.
It's my time.
Within 40 minutes, you asked me a question. Within 40 minutes, Wexner's name was added back.
Within 40 minutes of me catching you red-handed.
Red-handed? There was one redaction out of
he's
over
listed as a co-conspirator.
4,700, and we invited you in. This guy has Trump derangement syndrome. He needs to get. You're a failed politician. You need to get on these matters.
Chairman, please restore his time and remind the witness of the rules here.
There is no credible information. None.
Failed politician.
Get on to things that matter, she said. Get on to things that matter was the one that really got me. It doesn't matter. They probably disintegrated and grew sex slaves, but it doesn't matter.
And they were actively eating people. Mm-hmm. But you have TDS.
11-year-old virgins, they were called, offering up a 9-year-old Brazilian who was sexy. This doesn't matter. Powerful people, institutions inside our society, this is not what matters. Because how do we know what's in the past? We don't. It doesn't matter. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm just reading. But the problem, so what was I saying? That she said you have Trump derangement syndrome, as if that's the biggest issue here. But also that he's saying the only reason you unredacted that name is because I caught you red-handed.
And this had nothing to do with Trump. She's saying this is Trump derangement syndrome. It has to do with who was connected to this, specifically Epstein. Why did you unredact the victim names and redact the perpetrators and the suspects and the co-conspirators? Why that? You weren't supposed to do that according to the bill. Trump signed the bill. So this has nothing to do with Trump. Someone in the comments like, are you being anti-Trump? Shut up. That's not what this is about. This is clearly about institutional rot. If you're framing it around this one loyalty, you can screw off.
Yeah, as Grub Mud says, anti-fence sitting. We're not fence sitting at all. Like, you have a member of your Department of Justice who won't answer questions and is literally covering for pedophiles.
Yeah.
Like, there's no gray area here. There's no, I'm an Epstein binder MAGA influencer, so we'll just give her the benefit of the doubt and she's great. Because plenty of people came out on social media yesterday in that same crowd who were like, I think Pam Bondi did great. She took down TDS Massey. Okay. So, but she did want to let us all know that the Dow, when she was asked direct questions about this, why are these names, these co-conspirators that were supposed to be unredacted in the Transparency Act, as Natalie pointed out, you can't answer that question, but instead you're more focused on the Dow Jones being over 50,000. What?
The Dow right now is over. The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about. We should be talking about making Americans safe. We should be talking about, what does a Dow have to do with anything? That's what they just asked. Are you kidding?
Mr. Jordan, Mr. Jordan.
Yeah, are you kidding? What does the Dow have to do with Americans being safe? So these billion-dollar companies that are profiting off of the backs of AI and laying off workers and like literally shedding tens of thousands of jobs. I don't know if you saw the latest employment numbers. Okay, so that we're supposed to be celebrating that, and these companies, their stock goes up when they lay people off. Like that's making Americans safe. So children have been trafficked in the United States to pedophiles and billionaires, and they're safe with those people.
Also, if we want to loop in economics, I mean, our tax dollars are going to, arresting people for just having some weed, but not for eating or sexually abusing or killing people. That's just fine. So yeah, we can't really invest in the Dow to the extent to which we would like to, because we're taxed to the hilt to support satanic pedophilia cults. So yeah, I'm kind of upset about the economics of it. If you want to really pull me into that lens, that doesn't work for me.
Yeah, it doesn't work at all. And so we're supposed to just go along with this diatribe. And she said, why are you laughing about this? Michael Flynn Jr. pointed this out. Son of the great General Michael Flynn said, never forget that Blondie created the initial Epstein shitstorm with Bindergate. Yeah, she's the one that handed these things out. So she's trying to obfuscate and say that this is Merrick Garland. Why don't you ask Merrick Garland these questions? Remember, she had the Epstein list sitting on her desk, as he points out, and then she suddenly didn't. So many turned after that incredible debacle, and she should have been fired after that. One of the most interesting exchanges, though, came when Ted Lieu, yes, a Democrat, who cares, but he asked her a very specific question about reports, specifically from people who went to the FBI and reported that, in fact, Trump was at these parties with Epstein with underage girls. And he asked her specifically to respond to that question, as it shows up in the Epstein files released by your Department of Justice. And somehow this was offensive to her to have to answer for something that's actually in the Epstein files from her FBI. Watch.
Former Prince Andrew, Donald Trump attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know, were there any underage girls at that party or at any party that Trump attended with Jeffrey Epstein?
This is so ridiculous, and that they are trying to deflect from all the great things Donald Trump has done. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most transparent presidency. He's the one that asked that those files.
I'm going to claim my time. I got your answer. You said there's no evidence.
Trump asked
Chairman, please stop the clock.
Stop the clock. The legislation. This is
time belongs to the gentleman from California.
Okay. I'm going to put up another document from a witness who called the FBI's National Threat Operations Center, because I believe you just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you just lied under oath, and this is all on videotape. You said there's no evidence of a crime. I'm showing you. Here is a witness statement who called into the FBI's Threat Operations Center. He drove Donald Trump around in a limo. He overheard what Donald Trump said to Jeffrey on his cell phone. He was so angry, he was going to stop the limo and hurt Donald Trump. And he met a girl who said she was raped by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. She later had her head blown off, and officers at the scene said that could not have been suicide. No one at the Department of Justice interviewed this witness. You need to interview this witness immediately. Epstein should rot in hell, so should the men who patronized his operation. And as we sit here today, there are over 1,000 sex trafficking victims, and you have not held a single man accountable. Shame on you. If you had any decency, you would resign right after this hearing concludes.
The gentleman has expired.
Yeah, and also I love the grandstanding from Democrats. As Natalie and I were just talking here privately, it's like, you know, they had every chance and ample opportunity to go after these people, right? So,
during the Biden years.
During the
Obama years. Yeah. All of a sudden you're read in. Fantastic. I mean, I will support you for asking these questions because I want this information too. But now, all of a sudden, you're keen on this when you're not in power. Again, Democrats had this information. Why didn't they use this against Donald Trump when they were running against him? I don't understand this. So yeah, I'm happy to hear this, but also I'm still pissed, and you don't get a pass.
But I don't want to distract from the actual people here, the victims here in all of this, right? And so to his point, though, so yeah, Democrats grandstanding, that's one thing. But there are real answers here that need answering. There are real questions here that need answering, specifically that limo driver. This video is Dan Ferry. He's the limo driver mentioned by Ted Lieu just now at the Bondi hearing. The young girl in question did, in fact, end up dead. And it was determined not to be suicide. Never investigated, by the way. Who shot her in the head? Maybe we should investigate that. Keep this thing quiet so Trump doesn't get in trouble. Here is Dan Ferry responding to Ted Lieu and Pam Bondi yesterday. Watch the limo driver.
Donald John Trump, who was the 45th president of the United States of America. Donald, I know for a fact that you know exactly who I am. Don't even try to play like you don't. You stalked me in May, I'm almost certain it was May, of 1995, and you know you did. You called around the different services that were in the Dallas area until you found the one that I was a chauffeur for. Then you requested me specifically to come pick you up so that you could intimidate me. You even threatened me with your ignorant gold-plated semi-automatic, whatever it was. You did all that because you had raped a little girl around Christmas time of '94, 5 months earlier, who was 14 years old. Now, when that little girl was 7 years old, her and her two sisters became my daughters by choice.
Now, he goes on, and you can dive more deeply into that part of the story. But we should get answers, shouldn't we? And maybe the DOJ should respond to this and actually look into it instead of covering this up. And when Pam Bondi was walking out of her hearing, their victims were standing there and asking to meet with her. She walked right by them. But it is worth remembering, like, what she said back in the day in her campaign ads when she was running for Attorney General of Florida about sex traffickers. Watch.
Florida ranks 3rd nationally in calls for help for human trafficking, where young women and children are enslaved and abused. I knew we needed all hands on deck. Businesses and hospitals to spot it, our great law enforcement to stop it, and tougher penalties to punish it. We're taking on Medicaid fraud, pill mills, gangs, and more, and I'll fight to put human trafficking monsters where they belong, behind bars.
Pam Bondi, our Attorney General.
Yeah, it's interesting. It is interesting. Who got to her? You know, who was it? Susie Wiles? Who in the Trump administration specifically was telling her to obfuscate, to cover this up, to go there with flashcards? And when each member would pop up and ask her a question, she looked down at her flashcards and made a little quip or some little aside to attack them. She was also looking at documents. We know from reporting when she lifted up documents, we could see that she had search history of members of Congress. as they were accessing the files, Jayapal and others, she opened them up and you could see Jayapal's search history looking through the Epstein files. So someone gave her search history, so they're actually actively tracking members of Congress.
Which, look, that may or may not be legal. I don't know. The idea that can be validated, though, is that the Trump administration's method of responding to this is to attack the questioners and not actually follow the trail. So have the victims been interviewed by the Trump Department of Justice? No. Have they followed certain leads about certain deaths? No. The question is why, and why was her then response method planned out only attack the questioners? That's the question, right? So is there really any interest in stopping this or punishing it or making sure that it doesn't happen or that it's not currently happening? No, I don't think we can say that there is. Why? When this is the promise of the Trump campaign. Why? It was not a promise of the Biden administration. So at the very least, we didn't get it. We weren't promised it, right? But this was a cornerstone of something that people who do not trust the government wanted. Now we don't trust the government even more, and it's infuriating. All right, coming up, we're going to talk more about... Oh, yeah, sorry, you had another.
Well, I just want to say people are, mocking, of course, Pam Bondi. And I thought this one went a little viral last night, which I wanted to play for you here. If Pam Bondi was a waitress, watch.
Greetings.
Hi, what are your specials?
Well, it's funny. Since my time as waitress, I have completed more orders than...
Sorry, what are the specials?
Excuse me! I'm going to answer the question when I'm good and ready. Your theatrics are ridiculous. Okay, the market price fish might be up, but the Dow is down. Oh, you can't read the menu because of redactions? How about you apologize for coming in here with a party of 11?
Ma'am, could I get a refill on water?
Did you drink the water I already gave you?
Yeah, but I want...
So you admit that I already gave you water?
Yeah, but
I yield my time.
Ma'am.
Oh, so you want to complain that I gave you pickles when you said you didn't want pickles, but how about you apologize for a complicated order? I have yet to hear an apology from you, or you for that matter. What are the gluten-free options? How about you grow a pair? A turkey burger? This guy's got beef derangement syndrome over here. Give me a break.
Check, please.
You do not tell me what to do. I will get you the check when I want to get you the check.
And could I please get that with Italian dressing?
Italian dressing? In America? Just say you love illegal invaders. Greetings.
Hi.
So, yeah. That's a little take on what's been going viral over the past 24 hours.
All right. I mean, some of the memes are fun, but it's really not funny. So I struggle with this because, I like the reels as much as the next of like how elites email, that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, it's really upsetting. It's upsetting that we have to be like this. So anyway, you know this. You've been here with us for weeks. Let's move on. Coming up, we're going to talk about why Epstein was so interested in elite academics. Why? These are people who publish papers that nobody reads. What is the end game here? And I think it's just as dark as the rest of it. So stick with us on that. We're also going to give you a follow-up to Pizzagate. First, though, we want to tell you about our friends over at Lear Capital, because I know it's not fun when somebody says, I told you so. So we won't say that, but I will point out that Lear has been a loyal sponsor of Redacted for years. And if you had been investing with Lear all of this time, you would have made a lot of money. Well, that's because gold, silver, and precious metals hold their value, whereas the U.S. dollar does not. Now, this was a hard lesson for a lot of us to learn when the economy tanked over the Ukraine war and the COVID pandemic. And we thought, well, maybe it will recover as politicians are changed out. It has not. That has not happened. And in fact, it doesn't seem like it's going to. As we head to war with Iran, the end of the war in Ukraine is nowhere in sight. Now we're diverting oil from Venezuela to Israel and away from Cuba. Like, they're not going to do right by working people. They're just not going to. So your options are to invest in tangible assets that hold their value. That's why our friends at Lear Capital can teach you this. If you go to LearRedacted.com, you can get a free investor guide. Or what I really suggest is to call them, because they answer the phone like they're your friends, and they are, and they will just listen to wherever you are in this learning journey about investing in metals, whether you'd like to keep it in your house, whether you'd like to invest in a fund like an IRA. They can help you from soup to nuts. and they will teach you the different asset classes. So go to LearRedacted.com or call them, like I said, 800-613-3557. You also can receive up to $20,000 in free bonus medals with a qualified purchase. So come on, you guys, it's time to get yourself some gold and silver. Call the best in the business at Lear Capital. There's no obligation to purchase. This is education and information on protecting and growing your wealth. And again, if you've been doing this since the time when they started working with Redacted, you are a happy camper, but it is not too late, because if you think the value of the dollar is going up, well, I have a bedtime story for you, but this is real economics that we're talking about. So invest in things that hold their value, like precious metal. And once again, we want to thank Lear for their support. LearRedacted.com.
Cassie in our chat room says, super chat, thank you, says, I'm with Natalie. People can screw off about anti-Trump nonsense. If you're not on the side of protecting children, that tells us everything you need to know. P.S. Pammy is sloshed. I agree with that.
Sure. And look, it's painful to say, okay, I voted for this and, this is worse than I thought. Absolutely. That's painful. That's part of it. If you can't admit that your loyalties have led you astray, then you're not growing as a human being. So we cannot force this through a partisan lens. And if you're still seeing the world through a partisan lens, you have your eyes wide shut. That's all I can say. It's eyes wide shut all over again.
It is.
All right. Well, why did Epstein have so many elite academics in his social circle? Why would someone whose main job was sexual abusing and international weapons trafficker, why would he have time for these sort of boring academic journal types? This isn't a throwaway curiosity. It's a serious question, because Epstein was not a scholar. He was once a high school math teacher, and he didn't even graduate for college to qualify for that job. And yet his calendar was filled with professors from Harvard, MIT, Stanford, Columbia, neurologists, geneticists, economics, linguistics, men and women who shape ideas and culture. So I did compile a short list of known academics who had relationships with Epstein. Now, I want to be clear so I'm not sued. I'm not accusing these people of anything outright. I am only saying that they are known associates with Epstein, most of them in regular contact with him after his 2008 conviction as a sexual predator. So why? These are academics. They're supposed to be the smartest in our society, and yet they're too dumb to not have regular social contact with Epstein. That's weird, right? So here's a list of some well-known academics who are all listed and shown to be emailing regularly with Epstein, and in fact meeting with them. Some of them, eagerly setting up meetings. Some of them checking in on him when he gets a cold. There are 2 pages here, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. We can continue to find more and more. It is worth noting Stephen Hawking on this list. He was reported to have gone to Epstein's Island in 2006 and not had contact after his 2008 conviction. But you can check my work on that. That's alleged, of course. Now, again, many of them have issued their standard, I knew Epstein through this person. We worked on these academic grants. I never saw any underage girls. I didn't know any of this, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. Believe that if you want. But again, most of them regularly met with him after he had already been convicted and served jail time for prostitution. Most of them joked, oh, you're so bad. You're so bad. Many of them joked about having an unfair media representation, Noam Chomsky being one of them. The media treats you very unfairly, he said, for, underage prostitution. That's the media. Now, 2 academics I want to herald because they are missing from this list. The first, Norm Finkelstein, who responded to invitations to meet with Epstein by saying that both he and Alan Dershowitz both should be strangled. He said he copied this sworn testimony from a legal document and said, I don't think I want to hang out with these people. They both should be throttled, by which he means strangled. I found this very reassuring because I only just finished his book, The Holocaust Industry, a few months ago, and I wanted to keep liking him, and I will continue to do this because I think this is a badass move. Everyone should please read it, and we should reward this kind of behavior. Also, it's a fantastic book on its own.
His parents were?
He is the child of Jewish concentration camp survivors. So he is a Jew himself, and he talks about the exploitation of the Holocaust, and it is a gripping book. I cannot recommend it enough. Incidentally, unlike the decorated academics on my list before who were known Epstein associates, Finkelstein, funny, right? He was denied tenure at DePaul University because of enormous public pressure. Now, when you consider the theme of his work and his refusal to associate with pedophiles, it's strange that the one good guy gets denied promotion. The rest of these are all celebrated academics. That's weird, right? Anybody find that weird?
Yeah.
Okay, another.
And, they probably all got tenure.
Most of them are tenured. One of them is the former president of Harvard. Right. Okay. Another, Nassim Nicholas Taleb. He is an author and a New York Polytech professor. He has said publicly many times that when he was invited to meet Epstein, he said F off. And the files do validate that. Here you can see Epstein again being asked about him as if he's someone that he really should meet. And Epstein saying, I never met him. But there are many times when he is either invited or suggested for guest lists, and he absolutely refused. Now, this is something that's top of mind for me because it's clear, as I am a graduate of an elite liberal university where we were taught things like marriage is a trap, traditional family values are oppressive, everyone is some version of gay and trans, sexual exploitation and exploration is normal and healthy. This is what they teach in universities, and it's curious to see who might have influence here. Now, universities are not neutral spaces. They are cultural engines. They decide what is acceptable, what is backwards, what is taboo, what is enlightenment. They soften the edges and reframe our boundaries. They teach the next generation how to think about morality, sex, power, transgression. So was this the long game? This is a valid question. Was this the long game for Epstein and his puppet masters? Because by no means do I think that this was the project of Epstein's brain by himself. Absolutely not. He was being controlled by very rich and powerful power centers. Is this what they're still playing at and that they always have been? Now, this piqued my interest. Look at this text exchange between Epstein and Larry Summers, Larry Summers was the former president of Harvard, a government economist, Larry Summers. Take that down for a second. I want to set it up, if you don't mind. So let me give you some background about this text before you see it. This is, where am I? Prior to this, what little tidbit I'm going to show you, this is Larry Epstein and Epstein and Summers, both discussing fundraising institutes and academics. So they're saying, oh, we should give money to this person, this person, this person. I met with the chair of this person. It's all high-level Research One universities, Novak, Rita Colwell, the Tata Institute, Lawrence Krauss. He emphasizes, yes, we're going to give money here. I met with them. They're going to put out their research, no strings attached, no deliverables. He mentions outreaches to institute heads. So clearly he is embedded in elite research universities. And then let's take a look at what they say here. Now, Larry Summers says, or Epstein says, this is cultural translation problem. Jekyll is face, Hyde is real, not the same as Western. She, meaning some academic, is willing to argue that everyone is part Hyde, but not as accomplished as appearing Jekyll. I would expect more like this on this contact. And Larry Summers says, well, forget Jekyll and Hyde. It's reasonable to think about how pleasurable or unpleasurable this would be in steady state. So in this lore, Jekyll and Hyde, if you don't know, Jekyll is the socially acceptable outward persona, right? Hyde is the evil-doing alter ego that operates in the shadows. They are seeking an academic to validate that the world is made up of these dark evildoers, that we really all want to be Hyde. Do you understand what I'm saying here? It's norm shifting for the purposes of sexual perversion fantasies, because the fantasy was breed sex slaves. We've shown you that. Sex tourism. We've shown you that, all of which are discussed in the files. So this may be conjecture, but it does show that Epstein was interacting with senior academics in an intellectualized way, not as a passive donor, but as someone who wanted to engage in conceptual framing of deviance, of sexual and violent deviance. It seems clear to me he wasn't bringing academics into his world. He was bringing them, his world of sexual and violent deviant acts, into theirs. And they're willing. their game. That is abundantly clear with this email from UCLA Professor Mark Tremo. It's disturbing. I'm only going to leave it up for a bit. Here he's advising Epstein on studies on how to get newborns to suck more vigorously on pacifiers. Now, why would a person who actively planned business sex tourism and fantasized about breeding sex slave children from labs, who regularly corresponded with men about trading underage girls, be interested in this information? Why would a Research One University professor provide this thought-provoking information to a sex offender? Are the rules of an elite university so absent that this exchange can happen on the university server email? In a polite society, our collective reaction to that would be to stay away from these institutions and tear them down from the ground up, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
And there are university students who want to do this. There are protests happening around Mark Tremo at UCLA. The problem is we are so programmed to think of this as your natural progression through adulthood, high school into college, and we're not quite ready to do that. But from my perspective, again, as a parent of a teenager, I have to ask myself about this academic model altogether. Because if you're a parent and looking to these institutions that we idolize, shouldn't this be a dark stain where you say no to places like that? Absolutely not. This is showing us behind the curtain. The academics who are ingratiated, decorated laureates galore are the ones who are comfortable with this Epstein-type elite academia validating sexual perversions, and the ones that are not are either kicked out or punished. So my point about academia and perverts is this: if intellectual prestige can coexist comfortably with proximity to sexual exploitation, then the norm has already shifted, and these institutions are no place for my children. And you should think about yours. And if that sounds extreme, ask yourself, if this doesn't qualify these universities, what does? That's my point.
Can you explain what you mean by it's a natural progression? Like what that these people go through to get there? Like, what do you mean by that specifically?
I don't know which point.
You were saying that this is like a natural progression. You're going through your teen years into this. Like,
that people think, it's high school and then it's college and then you're an adult, that this is a natural way that you graduate into your adult life is through going to university. Right. And so my point is that given that these elite universities, not all of them are associated with Epstein, but a lot of them are still reading these academics. A lot of them are still teaching our children about, the diversity of sexual life, and I also think it's worth talking. We're going to talk to Kavor Galmasian in the coming days about it's not just about sexual perversion. It is also about geopolitical perversion and validating the geopolitical norms which allow us to wage war on behalf of Israel. That's clear. That was clearly Noam Chomsky's role in all of this. So I think it's war and it's sexual and violent deviance. And those are two places that you have to think about. Do my children belong there? No.
Right.
That's my point here. It's terrifying.
I know. I mean, again, well, also even just on an economic level, like, is there an ROI for even going to American universities at this point? So you could be taught poetry or how to code when everything's being taken over by AI. Maybe you should actually go to learn a trade, learn how to.
That's not really my point, but
I know. I'm just saying as an aside.
I don't think there is an aside to they're all perverts. Like, that's not, but okay, if that's your takeaway from this.
It's not my takeaway. I'm just saying.
It's a waste of money.
Also, it's a waste of money. In addition to the fact that they're perverts.
We do a lot of things that are a waste of money, just, for the cultural enrichment of it or for the experience of it. You could do that. That's fine, as long as there's no, aim to make you a deviant rapist. That's my main point there. Right. You might have missed that.
I didn't miss it.
Okay.
I'm just adding, also, it's a waste of money on top of that. But yes, this is an absolute agenda.
Interesting takeaway.
It's not a takeaway. It's an aside. It's an addition to the story. All right. Coming up, we're going to talk about Pizzagate, confirmed. And one of the reporters who was first on this story and who lost his career over actually reporting on this story and was told that he's a conspiracy theorist and all of this. We're going to talk about that next in a deep dive. But first, when your company is growing fast, order fulfillment can make or break you. And that's why I want to tell you about our friends at ShipStation. That's right. ShipStation is an intelligence-driven shipping platform that brings everything into one place. I've been using them for years. They put all of it there together. Order management, rate shopping, inventory and returns, warehouse systems, and even analytics. Instead of juggling like 5 to 7 disconnected tools, ShipStation pulls it all together so you can get orders out the door faster and with fewer headaches to customers. You can connect ShipStation over 200 different sales channels, and it automatically compares rates across the major carriers like the United States Postal Service, UPS, FedEx, even factors in your own negotiated discounts if you've already had them with one of these providers. And ShipStation can unlock savings up to 90% off of shipping rates. And then you set up time-saving automations and it just runs. ShipStation can pick the best carrier, find the best rate, print labels in bulk, and actually send tracking updates automatically. Done. And the back-end data is huge too because you can share tracking details which can cut customer service inquiries by 12%. Return management shows what's coming back and why, and analytics show you where you're saving and where to optimize. Over 1 million businesses trust ShipStation. Now, a quick FTC note, if I were running a high-volume store, this is exactly what I'd use to keep shipping from turning into a daily fire drill. So here's the deal. Try ShipStation free for 60 days with full access to all features. No credit card required. Just go to ShipStation.com, use the code Redacted for 60 days free. That's ShipStation.com and use that code Redacted.
We also want to tell you about our friends over at Webroot because, hey, you know that the internet can be a dark place and so much of your life is lived online. So if you are a victim of a cybercrime, you are screwed, but you won't be if you have a full protection plan. That's why we want you to check out Webroot. Go to webroot.com/redacted and you will be able to check out all of their offerings from password managers to VPNs to making sure that your IP address is hidden, your personal data is hidden, and you can also get a VPN for up to 10 devices. You can select your connection from 80 locations in more than 65 countries. You can also back up and restore with unlimited cloud storage for one PC or one Mac. They also have firewall and network monitor, lightning fast scans without interruption, and their web threat shield detects and blocks malicious website before you can even click on them. So make sure you check out all of the various tools that are available for you. Go to webroot.com/redacted. You can get 60% off their total protection package. You can get plans for just one person and up to several devices or your entire family. So check it out and save money. Webroot.com/redacted. And again, if you don't have a plan to protect your digital life, you need one. You need one yesterday. You can get, again, 60% off their total protection package for yourself or your family. Webroot.com/redacted.
Well, when you hear the word Pizzagate, most people instantly think of the 2016 internet frenzy, hacked emails, John Podesta leaks from WikiLeaks, the mainstream media trying to spin it as if it was focused around a DC pizza shop, which ended in violence. But of course, that wasn't true. The pizza shop was cover for the bigger story of elite networks using coded language like pizza and hot dogs to arrange for abuse of underage children. Jeffrey Epstein was real. The trafficking was real. And in the newest tranche of Epstein documents, the word pizza is referenced tons of times. Some perhaps about food, others clearly about having their way with young girls. Code word pizza. One journalist 10 years ago who was fearlessly reporting on Pizzagate was journalist Ben Swan. He was one of only a few mainstream TV people at the time who was willing to ask any questions at all on air about Pizzagate. And he paid a professional price for it, of course. So after losing his career in mainstream media and with the newly released Epstein files, Ben Swan is vindicated. Here was his report from just a few days ago. Watch.
Anyone who dared to suggest that this might be true was blacklisted, shadow banned, or thrown off of social media. But then, just days ago, the largest dump of Epstein files revealed what some of us have been telling you for a decade, that Pizzagate is real. Not that there is a pizza parlor at the center of a child trafficking ring, but that child trafficking rings run by some of the most powerful people in the world do exist.
Ben Swan is kind enough to join us now on the show. Great to have you here, Ben.
Guys, I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Our pleasure. Well, they came after you fast. Yep. What was the moment? Maybe just take us back and just kind of unpack this. And I want to get your meta-analysis of where we are now with the new documents. But What was the moment then where you realized, like, oh, they're not just criticizing this report about the pizza shop. They're trying to destroy me, Ben Swan.
Well, I knew that within about 30 minutes of getting into work the day after the report aired. So the report aired at 11 o'clock at night, CBS in Atlanta. And the next day when I came into work, all of a sudden, you know, I'm the first thing that happens, I'm called into general manager's office, sits me down and says, you know, what the hell did you put on television last night? And so we start talking about the report, which, by the way, had been vetted in the newsroom. It had been signed off on by the senior most news people in the building. I didn't go rogue. I mean, everyone had seen this thing. They knew I was working on it for over a month. And so, but then it was all the reaction. It was the reaction from Washington, D.C. We had lawyers calling us. We had lobbyists calling us. We had CBS Network calling and saying, what are you guys doing down there? How could you put this on air? And so there was this frenzy around it. And then immediately they said, listen, here's the deal. You're either going to take all your social media and turn it all off, or you're fired today. Right. And I'm like, well, I mean, I guess you can fire me, but there's no cause for firing me. They didn't violate any rules. They didn't do anything wrong. And actually, the reporting stands up. There was so much we could have talked about in that Pizzagate story that's not covered if you watch the whole thing. I mean, there were so many deep things we could have gotten into. This was just a very surface level because it was airing on broadcast television. And as you guys know, there are certain rules that you have to follow. You can't show a lot of the Instagram stuff. You can't show a lot of pictures. And so we were very careful in what we did. But even what we did share was so shocking and alarming that all of a sudden, you know, it was this thing's coming down and all your social media has got to go away. And that's what happened for a year.
Now, I'm curious about the way that you might observe the way mainstream media today is covering this. They're not touching Pizzagate, even still. The way they cover even the Bondi hearings yesterday, our local news was like, well, they did say Lex Wessner. They just said it. Let's move on. Not who is he? That's, you know, it's Valentine's Day weekend. Yeah. Maybe you want to rethink Victoria's Secret. How about all that? Like, it's so ignorant and purposely diversive. And as someone who tried to tell the truth, you must feel very vindicated, but also pissed. If you're like me, I'm pissed.
Well, not really pissed or vindicated, to be totally honest with you, because I knew from the day that I did the story that it was true. I really struggled with whether or not to even release the story at all. I had talked with my wife about it at the time, and she and I went back and forth. She did not want me to release it. I wanted to. She was like, they're going to come after us if you do this. And we actually took it to our pastors and said, if you guys could read through this script in advance and pray about us, let us know what you think. And I basically agree. Whatever they say, if they say this is too risky, don't do it, then I won't. They actually came back and said, no, we think that you have to, right? You can't not report on this. And so then, of course, we had a lot of backlash as a result of it. And to watch all that happen, look, I went through a lot, lost my job eventually because of it, was never able to work in mainstream news again. But all of those things ended up being huge blessings. So I'm not really angry about any of it. I think the disappointment for me is that over the course of those 10 years, how many more children were trafficked? How many more kids' lives were destroyed? How many more families were destroyed because the truth, when it was in front of the public and able to be seen on an internet level, really that technologically for the first time people could really dig into this stuff, was ignored so that this could continue. Not so that people wouldn't go to jail for what they had previously done, but also so that they could continue to act this way with impunity. And it went on for another 10 years.
Right. And it's still happening, as people in our chat room are pointing out, and we've said it here on the show, that this is active, right? This is the New York Times.
There's no evidence it's not. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, there's no evidence that it has stopped. The only thing I think is interesting, you know, I know you guys had Liz on your show yesterday, and I was listening to that, and she and I actually did a live stream together last week and agree on this point, that if you look through those Epstein emails, if you go back to the Podesta emails of Pizzagate, the terms of pizza and hot dog, the terminology that was used, actually disappeared after 2016. You'll see a sharp drop, and I think it's because of the fact that people like myself and Liz exposed the terminology. Again, it wasn't new terminology, and it wasn't exclusive to Podesta or to Epstein or to anyone in their circles, right? This is stuff that since 2007, the FBI had memorandum on saying this is how pedophiles communicate with each other on Tor browsers and on the dark web, and this is how they communicate. Chat rooms, they use this coded language. Well, all of a sudden, after 2016, 2017, they're not using that language anymore. And what I keep trying to emphasize to people is it's not because they stopped. They just changed tactics. They just shifted how they were communicating.
Right.
And so now we have to relearn the language, I guess, to figure out where they are and what they're doing.
Right. I mean, these rats run into other holes now, and now it's incumbent upon investigative journalists like yourself to ferret this out and track them. I just want to put this up on the screen here. Take a look at this, Ben. So you worked at CBS, right? CBS News. That was an owned and operated station in Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? So CBS corporate
it was
called
owned by Meredith at the time.
Oh, Meredith. Okay.
Meredith. Yeah.
So just if you look today, I mean, this is CBSNews.com right now. Of course, the main focus is Savannah Guthrie's mom, right? There is zero mention on CBS News here about anything Epstein related. More top stories. No, nothing about Epstein. Nothing about Epstein. Does that surprise you?
It doesn't surprise me. And honestly, the truth is it doesn't even matter, right? Because CBS is a failed organization. ABC, NBC, they're failed news organizations. People don't go to their news for them anymore. The number one news app in the world, you guys know what it is. It's X. That's where everybody goes to get their news. And so it doesn't even matter. The mainstream news organizations aren't just to the point now where they're dinosaurs. They're extinct. They're printing for themselves and people who live on the Upper East Side of New York. The American public, the global public is not getting their news and their information from them. And that's why I think when you go on, and I'm sure it's true in your feeds as well, when you go on X, what do you see? Every single post is Epstein. The administration's working very hard to try to change the subject on this, and they want to move on from it for various reasons. But I would say it's impossible, right? Because if you look at how the news cycle is being driven on X versus how it's being driven in any other place, it's pretty incredible to see that the public and content creators are not letting this thing go. And as a result, we're actually seeing so much more information come out every single day because people are digging in. You mentioned 911 times, right? Pizza was mentioned. Well, the latest thing we're working on, I'm actually releasing a report about this today, is on the cannibalism part of it, which was a very small part of the original Pizzagate story, but now we see it kind of prevalent in the Epstein files. Jerky is the term they seem to be using in the Epstein files, but jerky itself comes up over 311 times in the Epstein files. Who talks about jerky this often? And with, again, winky faces and little, one-liners, and Jeffrey's furious because he's out of jerky. Can you bring him some? And he's having jerky flown to him constantly in these emails. I mean, if the guy has such a hankering for beef jerky, it's not that hard to get. Why is it require specialized people flying to you and to your island in order for you to access jerky? So we're really looking into that. But I got to tell you, that is where this story, for a lot of people, is almost impossible to digest, because we go from child sex trafficking for 10 years was hard for people to imagine. I think most of the public has accepted on some basic level that this was in fact happening. But then when you start to say, but that also includes not just sex trafficking, we're also talking about torture and children who are caged and locked up and cannibalism. We're talking about emails that discuss breeding programs to breed children to put them on the black market, right? The level of depravity and satanic ritualism that is involved in this, it may take another 10 years for the public to be able to actually accept that this is real. But these are the people, the most powerful people in Western society.
Yeah, can I just say one other on the word thing? Because something I've been looking into, and maybe Ben, you can run with this as well. I've just been looking into this and very curious that the word muffin keeps coming up. Mm-hmm. It's very strange. So I started going through all of these emails where they're talking about muffins, and Jeffrey's angry. You know, he's back to eating muffins now. He's back to eating muffins. I'm going to fly some muffins in for you. Like, it's just so, no one talks like this. It's just so strange. No. Anyway, sorry to interrupt. It's just that's when you're talking about the jerky and now muffins and like, what other words aren't we even thinking of that we need to run a search on?
Well, that was actually my exact question. I was surprised when Liz said yesterday, these are known code words. They have been for a long time. And of course that makes sense because drug dealers use code words. And of course, that's the FBI's job and the CIA to decode them so that they know right now. They have to know what the new code words are. We don't. Will it be another decade before we find out? That's the part that's so infuriating. I guess that's not a question, but I'll let you respond.
Well, no, I think there is a question in there. And I would say it's difficult to know whether or not the FBI would know what some of these are. Because again, if we're talking about since Pizzagate, and if people like Epstein and his circle and people like Wexner and the people who are in these circles who were discussing, you know, child sex trafficking and child pornography and the assault of children using pizza words, and they suddenly say, hey guys, we can't talk this way. Do they invent their own? One of the reasons that the FBI was able to do this is because there are many different kinds of networks that are involved in child trafficking and human trafficking. We all know that, right?
Right.
And so those networks operate, you know, you'll have some which will be the 4chan, 8chan guys who are on Tor browsers sharing videos back and forth. That's a very different crowd than the people that Epstein's dealing with. He's not dealing with the guy who's in his basement, you know, in Virginia someplace who's sending something to overseas. That's not who he's dealing with. He's dealing with a very different group. They're all using the same language because this became established language at some point. But after Pizzagate broke and after their codes were out in the public, did different groups isolate themselves and begin to create their own language that's not in the broader lexicon that the FBI would be able to tap into? And I think there's a very strong possibility it's not. That the terminology that Epstein would be using, whether it's, again, jerky or this word muffin, may not show up in other places. So there actually may not be an already established point of why are they using this word. And so it may take decoding through the emails, but also hopefully at some point arrests and conversations with these men who are involved in this and women who are involved. By the way, I'm also a little frustrated with the fact that we keep talking about all the men. It's not just men. If you look at these emails, even within the small number of unredacted names we've seen, Epstein had a circle of women around him, including Ghislaine Maxwell, but others who were recruiting girls and who were abusing girls and who were moving them through these networks. So it is a group of men and women who were deeply involved in this. And did they create their own language, and how do we discover that? So it is a process.
Right. And even like the women who were actively bringing the women, the masseuses from Turkey and from the spa to Epstein Island and facilitating all of that. You're absolutely right about that. Can I just ask you a journalism question here? And you don't have to reveal sources or anything. I'm just curious. In that month that you were grappling with releasing this story and you were talking with your wife and your pastor and everything, the story we were being told publicly was one thing, but obviously you were dealing with sources behind the scenes and working on this story deeply. Was there like a moment or a few moments where you said, oh my God, this is real? This specific point stood out that you included in your report that validated it for you from a journalism perspective?
Yeah, there were two things that happened. One was I was able to get in touch with self-proclaimed pedophiles who were operating on 4chan and 8chan, who were the ones who first flagged Podesta's emails. Right? The John Podesta emails that discuss pizza did not get flagged because people on the internet said, he sure mentions pizza a lot. Wonder if that has to do with child pornography. It wasn't. It was self-proclaimed pedophiles on 4chan and 8chan who started messaging and saying, has anyone noticed that in the WikiLeaks dump of John Podesta's emails, he's using the language we use? That's how we talk. Wow. So I was able to get in touch with some of those guys and communicate with them about the language they use and why they use it. You know, cheese pizza, CP, child pornography. It's the acronyms is how it originated. And that's what they originally
must have been.
That's what CP comes from.
Yeah.
Then once they had established that one, all the other words, whether it's sauce, hot dog, just pizza in general, those words all came out of the original, right? So then they use those based on anatomy and all that.
Wow.
But once I had that, do you completely trust that? No. Well, obviously you're talking to some of the most depraved people and deviants. He had no reason to lie, but do you trust it fully? No. But then the next step, and where it really was, this is absolutely real, was when I was able to then go back and verify through 2007, and I'm the first person to ever put this on television, the 2007 FBI unredacted, unclassified documents that not only showed the use of this language, but also the actual symbols, the boy lover, girl lover symbols, pedophile symbols that existed. And what we started to find were different bands that were incorporating these symbols into their music or into the pizza places that were in question. It was in their logos. That's not coincidental, right? That you start to see all these things connecting. And you guys know, and from a journalistic perspective, you go into a story never expecting to know what the outcome is if you're going to actually follow a story, but you follow it wherever it takes you. And when you start to go down those roads and everything is clicking, it makes sense at a certain point. You say, you can second guess yourself and say, this can't be real. But if it looks like it, smells like it, walks like it, talks like it, at some point you have to just put it out and say, this is where it is. Prove me wrong. Show me where it's wrong. And one of my big conclusion in that original story 10 years ago was, at the end of the day, law enforcement has not investigated it. That's the biggest frustration. And by the way, that's where we are again with the Epstein files.
Right.
Right now,
no one's investigating it,
covering it up, and then calling Thomas Massie, theatrical, or calling him a Trump derangement syndrome instead of actually investigating this. Yeah, it's incredibly infuriating. You had a question.
Leon Black, who is the head of Apollo, that massive firm, right? He comes up in those Epstein files multiple times, talking about, accused of having sex with 16-year-olds and then girls as young as 7 and 8, and that he had used toys and caused bleeding. I mean, it's very graphic stuff.
Yeah.
Why is he not right now being questioned by the FBI? Why is he right now not sitting in a room being interrogated and being charged? Because I understand some of this stuff is very old stuff. I don't know what the statute of limitations are on it. I don't know how much evidence there is, but there's a lot of evidence that would at least require you to go and sit him down and to interrogate him. And nothing's happening. It doesn't matter if the names are redacted or unredacted at this point. Les Wexner, who's coming after this guy? Who's interviewing him today? It's not happening. And that's the biggest problem. And I just want to point out, for anybody who thinks, that Thomas Massie's grandstanding when Pam Bondi says, yeah, there's 3,000 emails with Lex Wexner's name. You found one that wasn't unredacted. The one he found that wasn't unredacted was the most important document out of the 3,000.
Yes. The word co-conspirator.
The FBI said he's a co-conspirator.
Very important, I would say. I lost it over that. Here's something that's new to me also. I think a lot of this was scrubbed from the internet around the time your report was too, was the bit about Wayfair. Ordering Wayfair furniture. Specifically, there's one in which Jeffrey Epstein orders Wayfair furniture to the house of Woody Allen. Now, Wayfair is known for affordable, cheap furniture. I didn't think billionaires sent each other cheaper furniture items like this.
Wicker
And so the theory is that these are pieces of furniture that contain humans for the purposes of trafficking. Have you been able to validate that? What do you know about that that's new to me?
Well, the story, it was a little bit after Pizzagate. It was probably like 2018, 2019, when Wayfair scandal broke. So the concept was that Wayfair would be cheap furniture, and it was, cabinets and dressers, things like that. But suddenly there would be 1 or 2 items that would show up on Wayfair's website for ridiculous pricing. Like you think you're on Restoration Hardware, right? It's like it would be a file cabinet or a closet, like portable closet, for $26,000, for $35,000. And people started saying, why does Wayfair, everything else is like $299, and then they have like a $30,000 wicker cabinet. And so the theory began that they were actually putting kids in these because they would also name them, and then people started matching like missing kids' names to the names of these products. Is there any evidence that any of this is true? No. I have not found any evidence that Wayfair was involved in human trafficking, was trafficking kids, had kids in those cabinets. There's no proof of it. However, it got a whole bunch of renewed interest because, as you pointed out rightly, Natalie, all of a sudden, you find out Jeffrey Epstein ordered an $8,000 cabinet and sent it to Woody Allen.
Yeah.
From Wayfair.
Woody Allen's a good guy.
Right.
He's good.
Right.
No, and Soon Yi is here thanking him for the update. Like, okay, we're going to be eating outside. We need this outdoor furniture. Yes. So, okay, thank you. They couldn't get it any other way.
You had to get it from Jeffrey Epstein.
It had to come from Jeffrey Epstein, and it came from Wayfair. Again, this is where so the clever part of what they've done over the course of these many years is they have been committed to their coded language and committed to kind of hiding things in plain sight, because you sound like a crazy person when you're like, Wayfair is shipping children around the world to pedophiles, right? They're being used in this way. That sounds crazy. But and I'm not saying they are, for the record, but when you suddenly see that, in fact, Jeffrey Epstein was buying Wayfair furniture at ridiculously high prices and shipping it to known pedophiles, because he himself was a known pedophile, and then sent it to Woody Allen, who's a pedophile, and you all of a sudden see this happening, you say, am I the crazy one for asking the question? Am I crazy for thinking this is real?
Right, and then they'll gaslight you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine just accidentally ordering like a really expensive piece of furniture from there, and it shows up, and they're like, actually, you're not part of the program, so we can't actually make this delivery to you.
And then the question is, has anybody at Wayfair been interviewed by the Justice Department?
Right.
Yeah.
Has the Justice Department ever bothered to look? And listen, if I'm in the FBI and somebody calls me and says Wayfair is shipping kids around in wicker closets, I'd be like, that's okay. No, next. Let's move on to the next thing. But to your point, Clayton, and actually this would make sense if you were doing this, in that the people, not disparaging anyone, but the people who shop on Wayfair will never accidentally buy a $26,000 cabinet.
Right.
Yeah,
because you're shopping on Wayfair because you can't afford a $26,000 cabinet.
Yeah.
So if you were, again, hiding kids in Restoration Hardware furniture, you might accidentally send the kid to the wrong person. But in this case, pretty good chance that the only people who are going to buy the ridiculously priced product on Wayfair know what they're buying.
Right.
If that were what's happening.
Look, the Justice Department picks up on weirder things. There was a whole documentary on how they prosecuted the McDonald's monopoly scandal. Like, that's not crazy. That was from an anonymous tip, and it turned out to be a real thing. So, children inside cabinets.
Yes.
Maybe just follow the trail. If it's cold, it's cold, but look into it, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is the biggest issue, is there is no case file on any of this stuff.
Yeah.
There's still
so
no
incurious.
case file in the FBI on Pizzagate.
No, they'd rather go after Catholics. Honestly, that's what you're dealing with. The Obama-Biden years in the FBI. And by the way, is something we've talked about with our friend of the show, Kyle Seraphin. The rot is still deep inside of the FBI. You might have Dan Bongino and a few of these other people that go in there. The whole thing is just rotten, right? It needs to be completely leveled and brought down to the ground. So they don't have any interest in. They've been helping to facilitate all of this. It's been run through the State Department for crying out loud.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's all,
to me, that's what's so
through deep state.
Go ahead, Philip.
What's so damn frustrating to me, and just like is, it's not like people are asking them to go. Yes, go back and investigate these crimes that happened, but this is still ongoing. Like in protecting the people that are named, those people are still operating business as usual.
Yeah.
So like in not investigating these people, they're perpetuating it.
Like Tara Rodas,
sure.
friend of the show, Tara Rodas, who's a Health and Human Services whistleblower, I think HHS, and she blew the whistle exactly on these operations of ferreting these children around the United States for this illicit trade, and it's still happening right now under Trump. Like, it's still going on because these NGOs and all of it, the billions of dollars, and I guess that's who we're protecting right now, Ben. That's why you lost your job, for asking these questions and doing real journalism.
Well, yeah, and as you pointed out, it takes on a lot of different forms. There's a whole set of investigations that need to happen over Haiti when the Clinton Foundation got involved there, and a lot of kids went missing at that time. The John of God, he comes up in the Brazilian guy that was Oprah's guru for a while. Remember this guy? He was apparently running kids through Zorro Ranch, Epstein's Zorro Ranch. That's all in these files as well. we see so many different avenues through which this is all happening. And again, who's investigating any of it? And I know you said like you see people like Bongino and Patel. I mean, Kash Patel has been probably the biggest disappointment as FBI director that he possibly could have been on this issue, because he talked about this issue a lot before becoming FBI director. And so I think people like me had a lot of hope that, look, so you're going to get Kash in there and he's going to go after these people. And then he just denies it's even happening. So it makes you wonder, too, that there is a level to this that we're not understanding. There is a deeper level than just powerful people that is paralyzing. I think otherwise good people who have gotten into those spots who just, they don't even know what to do with it, so they just pretend it's not happening. And I don't know how you can go to sleep at night pretending it's not happening.
Right. As David Icke pointed out on our show a few weeks ago, I mean, it's all being run by this really nefarious cabal that's way bigger than all of these people. Jeffrey Epstein is not, he's just he was not the ringleader piece of it. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, absolutely.
Ben Swan, great to have you on the show for the first time. I can't believe our schedules have never aligned to have you on, but we'd love to have you back and continue the great work. And God bless you for the work that you're doing to try to expose all of this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Ben.
Gosh, he was really good. How have we not spoken to him before?
I don't know. So. I know we say that sometimes we have new guests we haven't had. We've always known of his work, but just somehow we've never had him on. And we're like, why the hell have we done that?
David said he has been. Maybe when I wasn't on.
I don't know that he was. I don't think he's ever been on with us.
Maybe David on your show.
Maybe on.
Yeah, I can't recall. He might have been.
Yeah, maybe like 5 years ago, but I don't think so.
I'm like 90% sure. Yeah.
We'll have to find the tape, but I don't believe so. Maybe. I think we tried to at one point, and then our schedules didn't align. But maybe I'm wrong. It might have been like 4 years ago. Anyway, never.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. But he's here. And we're going to take some of your super chats here in a second. Let's do that. Shall we do that? Yes. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. And then, we'll do that. All right. But first, I'll tell you about our friends at Quo and their open phone. New year, new systems, right? It's a time when we all look at the same messier parts of our business and think there has to be a better way, and there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest and easiest upgrades that you can make. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, and that is spelled Quo. Smarter way to run your business communications. When you're in that level up mindset for your business, it's wild how much basic stuff matters, like how you talk to customers, how you keep your team on the same page. And a more modern setup like Quo can actually help you all be in sync together. Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2 with over 3,000 reviews. Built for how modern teams work. That's why the more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams, rely on Quo to stay connected, professional, and consistently reachable. Quo isn't just a phone system, it's a smart system. Their AI system automatically logs calls, generates summaries of those calls, and then highlights the next steps so nothing gets lost. Do I need to call this person back? This was a complaint that we need to deal with within our business. Whatever it is, it could also qualify leads or respond after hours, ensuring that your business stays responsive even when you're finally offline. I heard something recently that said, in America right now, everyone expects every business to run like Amazon. So if you're like reaching out to the heating company, you better they want a response, even if it's after hours. That's just how we're operating now, thanks to Amazon and the way that everything is set up. So Quo can help you get there. No customer slips through the cracks. You can take care of everybody. So try Quo for free. Plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/redacted. That's QUO.com/redacted. Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers.
All right, I stand corrected. Ben Swan has been on the show before.
When?
It's when I was hosting solo and you were away in March of 25. So it's not that he's forgettable. It's that possibly I have Alzheimer's.
Okay, right.
Let's please forgive me for that memory lapse. He was one of the journalists who was sanctioned by the Biden administration for being associated with RT. That was a fabulous segment. He was fabulous. It's me. I'm the problem.
Someone's not taking their kimchi one.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
I'm a little worried about her lately. He is
fantastic.
She will tell me the same story 2 days in a row.
I do this. Mostly, though, my excuse is that I'm always trying to come up with banter with my teenagers. So I just think of a story and then I tell it over and over again.
She's like, I really like this story. I'm going to keep going with it, even though I've told
Maya's
you.
liked this story.
I told you yesterday. I'm going to tell you the same story again. Okay, I was because I was worried. I usually can remember like every guest we've had on the show, like I mostly. So I was like, no. Good. I'm glad to know that
it was me.
I was off.
It was
I was not working that day.
He was fantastic this time as well. It was as if it was new.
Okay. But I do.
It was like the first time.
For the record, I do love hearing your stories multiple times.
Thank you, darling.
In a row.
You have to say that. You
didn't your mom do a thing or no? Was it you that would?
We used to do this to each other when someone starts to tell the same story. You go like this.
Like meaning I've heard this before.
Second time I've heard this.
Second time I've heard this story.
But so that actually makes me feel better that I did this as a teenager too.
Right. This is not new for you.
You know what I am? I'm like one of those. I'm kind of boring to talk to in real life because I never get my head out of my books. And so I just like spout facts that nobody wants to, and I just keep mumbling shit to myself.
I do hear her talking to herself. I'll come into the bathroom or something, and she's like, "So, what's going on over there?"
Yeah,
yeah, it's really trouble.
I do have to. I won't out the person, but there is somebody I know that used to live with me, and this person drank a lot. And he would get drunk and tell the same exact stories. And there was one time we were just kind of standing out on the porch, and he started, and I was like, dude, if you tell that story, I'm throwing you off this porch. I was like, I do not want to hear that damn story again.
Although when you're
always
married,
the same story.
You know the social cues. That someone will say something, and I'm like, Clayton's going to tell this story, and then there it goes. Like,
I know
cue this. Too. I know the social cues. Like, so
Natalie's going to go down this rabbit hole. Here we go. I've got about a good 15 minutes now.
Oh, the vegan story. Here comes this. I knew it.
There's Natalie going to talk about the dentist story.
This is marriage, you guys.
I'm going to go take a nap.
People were annoyed that we bickered at the end of my university stories, but this is marriage. This is lighthearted bickering. This is
marriage.
Yeah.
Marriage.
That's how it goes. It's all in good spirit. We'll make up later.
Pentavonian says Natalie reports the same story 2 days in a row to Clayton. Yes, that's right. So after today's show, she's going to do that whole story again for me later.
I'm going to tell you about this great person I met today named Ben Swan.
Exactly.
It's only because of Philip that she doesn't do it on the show.
Right.
Like we already covered that.
We already covered that. Let's see here. Someone says, I am Sid 953 says there was a Florida reporter who reported on Pizzagate many years ago. A few days after his report aired, he disappeared for about 3 weeks. After he resurfaced, he never reported on this again.
I believe it.
I didn't hear that story. Sizemore says, Clayton, can you tell us about your time at WVVA in West Virginia? Sure.
Do I have to stay for this?
I'll tell you the story again. No, you can.
And then can you tell the dentist story again?
No? Yeah, can you tell your So I worked at WVVA in West Virginia, Bluefield, West Virginia, and I have to say some of the nicest people I've ever worked with. Oh my God, the people in Bluefield and Virginia, and because it's bisected. Bluefield, Virginia, and West Virginia are bisected. So there's two cities there. Just beautiful time. Great people. I was there during some of the big floods. Had to cover a lot of that. OxyContin disaster in there. That was not fun, but some incredible people there in West Virginia. Love it, love it, love it. So you have family from West Virginia.
Beckley, West Virginia. Actually, Shillian specifically.
Beckley, Bluefield. That was my television market.
Shillian, West Virginia, down the holler.
Did the morning show there with Corey Henderson in the morning. And he was like a real buttoned up weather guy. Mm-hmm. Like he had a good sense of humor if you got him laughing. So my goal every day was to try to make him laugh on the show, and I often did. I have a whole tape of me just making him laugh, where he was like didn't know how to respond because he's like buttoned up. He was like a buttoned up, good like church boy weather guy.
Yeah,
really nice guy. But I would like try to do stuff to throw him off and make him laugh. I have a tape of that. I found a tape recently of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other super chats you want to take here, David? Are we able to? So we're not. Are we able to see them now in social stream here or no?
Yeah, you should be able to see them. Grim set that up. You should be able to see just the super chats and Rumble rants in the events.
Events. Okay, I can't see that, but I'll try this real quick here. We'll just do a few of these.
You can see there, yeah.
Okay, watch Europa, The Last Battle, and it will answer your questions. Thank you, official Junot.
Europe, The Last Battle. Okay. This has been become one of my favorite channels from David A357. Keep on keeping on. Thank you so much. We intend to.
Claudie Bertha. I'm sorry if I'm saying that incorrectly. By getting these academics compromised is how Jeffrey Epstein and the Blue Star members started to shape the world how they wanted it to be, pure evil. That was for you.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
that-
As a response to my academic story, I appreciate that. What? Go ahead, Philip.
And that's just something that I'm trying to think who was it Pam Bondi that recently just said like if we knew everything, like this system would come collapsing down if they didn't redact all these names. There's somebody that said something to that effect, and I'm just like, if the system we have allows this to happen, I want that system to come down.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Give us the pain that comes with it. That's fine. We'll get over it. But we can't continue in a society like we can't have a system that allows this.
Yeah, 100%. Well said. What do you think is out first? Oh, who do you think is out first from this administration? From Noah B., 1989. Who knows? I don't have any bets. We should make a monopoly board or a
Bongino,
football pool.
Does he count?
He's already out. Yeah.
He got out. He got out right ahead of this, right before this. He probably knew it was coming. Got right out.
Yeah.
Holtzclaw on Rumble says, Bongino and what he didn't do is what completely opened my eyes to reality. For that, I'm grateful. So because Bongino lied and what he did and actually did not do with the FBI and then comes back to his podcast, he's like, I'm going to rough up some people that want just Epstein files and stuff like that. So that opened your eyes. That opened a lot of people's eyes, I think. People were definitely red-pilled as a result of that.
But I want to congratulate you because, that's sometimes people have these loyalties and you're like, wait a minute. So that means you're still clear thinking. So congratulations.
Are you guys dissing the Podfather?
What? Who's?
Oh, the Podfather. I love that he calls himself the Podfather. Meanwhile, you want to go back to Adam Curry, who actually created the original podcast?
Adam Curry is the Podfather,
but
who incidentally gave me my start in broadcast journalism. So, no, he's not the Podfather. Adam Curry has been for 2 decades at least.
He's the guy that created podcasts. Literally, he created it. He created the I think he created the RSS structure for it, if I'm not mistaken, that allowed people to publish it on an RSS. I might be wrong about that, but then for Dan Bongino to be like, I'm the Podfather, he called himself.
Does he really call himself that?
Yeah, he called himself that. He's like, hey, by the way, everyone, get ready. The Podfather is returning.
I wonder if Adam Curry has a trademark on that.
I don't know.
That's not right. You can't steal someone's
Well,
moniker.
I think even Apple, didn't they get into a big tiff? Not he and Apple, but I think Apple, because people, because it was the iPod. That's, so I don't know, does Apple own the right to the term podcast? I think there was some.
There was something like that. I don't remember the details. It's been too long.
All right.
So you were partly right, Clayton. Adam Curry did not create RSS. It was created by Dan Libby and Ramanathan Guha. However, Curry is known as the Podfather for collaborating with Dave Weiner in 2000-2004 to apply RSS technology to audio, creating first podcast feeds.
Okay.
So it was around RSS.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. People saying the movie Europa is good. I have to check that out. Gopher says, can't believe Bongino made #1 on Rumble leader list. Well, as Kyle Seraphin was pointing out, so many, it seems like they spent a lot of money, according to them, on bots. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying apparently there was a huge bot army. So that can happen when you spend a lot of money on bots.
Yeah. People are saying Adam Curry's from the Netherlands. He lived in the Netherlands. He married a woman from the Netherlands, and his daughter, I believe, still lives there. But I think he's originally from New Jersey or something like that. But he speaks fluent Dutch, as far as I remember. So
I ran into him 8 years ago at NAB or CSS, one of those, and talked to him.
One day I'll tell you the story of how he called me up and said, I'm going to make you the next Maria Bartiromo. And I was like, who is this? What do you want? I had only been on the air once. It's a funny story. So anyway, yeah, he's the one who taught me how to be a broadcaster.
Yeah, all right. I think that's it, right? We got a bunch of. I wasn't able to get the. I wasn't able to get anything. So social stream just shows a continuous stream. I don't see
Grim, are you here to open up events for him?
See an
log on the Mac Mini and pull up events.
Man, it's okay. Clayton is squinting glasses time. That's right. Yeah. All right, that's going to do it for us today on this Thursday. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I really, really appreciate it. Hey, we do have a daily newsletter you should all subscribe to. It comes out Monday through Thursday. If you just go to redacted.inc, put in your email address, you will receive that email. It's a great morning email that Natalie writes, spends a lot of time working on it every day to make sure that you have great stories that the mainstream media largely ignores. Plus, we cover the markets. We give you things you might have missed while you were sleeping overnight. And you can read it in about 5 or 10 minutes, but it is unlike, like if you subscribe to like a CNN newsletter, it's not like that. You're going to get real news published every day into your inbox, and we don't sell your email address or anything like that. You'll receive the Redacted newsletter Monday through Thursday. Redacted.inc.com is the place to go to sign up and become a registered user of the newsletter, and we'll be back with live shows next week. So thank you guys. We're live every day at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So thank you guys so much for joining us today. Have a great rest of your evening, and we'll see you back here next week.